Thank you so much today. So yeah, it's a great audience. I see around like 50, 60 people. You can definitely interrupt me with the sense of questions. So no worries. We come back to the track. And yeah, first of all, AUTOSAR itself is it's a consortium. It's an organization which is registered in Germany. And we have, I think, the main benefits we see at the moment is that really this ecosystem helps the OEMs to provide technologies faster to the serious development, and to have the right suppliers on track in the right time, in the right manner. It's kind of helpful to push the right topics, but also to enable them to provide the right technologies with the suppliers. You know that automotive is the kind of collaboration mode on software level. So others, as in IT systems outside of automotive, we are insisting on collaboration model which decouples the hardware and the software layer. So with that, I think a lot of responsibilities and complexity is coming into our ECU projects, and the application software what we have. And I mean, you see that in the car is around. So aims and benefits, it's as I mentioned a little bit before, we're trying to establish this ecosystem and drive together with the suppliers the technologies we need. And therefore, I mean, you know that development usually takes us around 3 to 4 years. And almost 2 years earlier, we already provide the right technologies to the suppliers in AUTOSAR. And that's why those can also ramp up earlier and can have a look on what OEMs are planning to have with regards to safety, security, and so on. And based on that, we establish then projects within serious development and in different OEM houses. That's basically the benefit from the more commercial point of view. We are also looking on technical topics like hardware abstraction, where really two paths are handled, one from the supplier side and the other one from the application. The application can be developed in parallel, so the RTE and the middleware in adaptive is handling both tracks, and both can develop in an agile mode as well, those software parts. We integrate them together, and hopefully it matches when we then create the whole architecture to the car. I mean, automotive is the main scope, but we see also more and more AUTOSAR now deriving to other use cases like railway, like medical care. We have some. I've seen a washing machine running with AUTOSAR on a fair. So in general, you can do everything that's really hardware related done on the classic platform, and in future with the adaptive platform, I think the possibilities are even wider. I guess after the aims, have a look on the partners. I mean, we can't do it without partnering. In automotive, projects are very distributed. Resources, not everyone has enough resources to drive software projects alone. That's why we have this tier approach with the hardware integration tier, where the tier 1, and you have the tier 2 who is supplying more from the platform level, and then of course service and tools that are really needed in the ecosystem as well. And of course there are some suppliers really bringing you also the whole package with them. And at the moment, I think the classic platform really gained maturity here in the sense of stabilization. We have a bigger number of suppliers providing the stack, but also the services, so we can choose. And for adaptive, I think we are pretty early on track of standardization. So there's still a lot of technical discussions needed in the standard itself. From the partners, we have 9 co-partners. They are the owner of the organization, somehow also registered in Germany. And we have 2 strategic partners. That's a new program we started for premium partners to bring in a specific scope for the future, which definitely helps AUTOSAR. And on the premium partner side, the companies are providing 1.5 FTE, but also 3, and they usually have a use case for product-related business cases, and the development partners are rather, of course, smaller companies with a dedicated topic, like RTI or others that are really looking on. For example, RTI is our partner with DDS connection in adaptive platform. Associate partners is the biggest number. AUTOSAR has 2 licenses. The one development license, you see here the partners that are have the possibility to contribute, and the associate partners are only having the exploitation license, which means they use it in product but don't participate in the consortium. That's somehow the overview, and please interrupt if you have questions. So I will go on with a little bit more of the organization in AUTOSAR right now. All right, so the project leader team on top of the core partners and strategic partners are steering the topic in the releases, but also the technical direction from concept and change request point of view. And then we have very leading working groups that having more the connection with other smaller groups. And I think they are the biggest pillars of AUTOSAR, where we see security, safety, and the methodology, and which is definitely established and serious. Every one of us, I think, have seen an RxML on the ECUC level or the software component level, and on the security and safety side, I think the processes are helping to create safety and security related software platforms, and AUTOSAR is definitely here the one to mention. The orange part at the moment cross-cutting, which means going to both platforms, the upper part for vehicle to X, for diagnostics, resource management, like DLT is also handled there, how we log and trace things for timing, for example. And in vehicle communication is, I think, the biggest group in AUTOSAR where the COM stack is developed. Some of my colleagues always call the COM stack is the heart of AUTOSAR itself. So it means we are the everything is related to the COM stack somehow. You don't have always the intercommunication inside of your platform. You must communicate on the board net and connect with other ECUs. I think the application interfaces is a quite interesting group for the future as well. More and more the platforms are coming to the application side, which means especially in adaptive, some sensor standardization for automated driving are currently ongoing. I also have internal talks about electrical driveline departments and powertrain departments where application interfaces could be standardized. And not to forget also the diagnostics is, I think, a crucial part based on the ISO we have with UDS as protocol. So you see, there is a part which is really architecture driven for both platforms, adaptive and classic, and some parts are dedicated, which are lower in the lower part for each platform. And on the right side, the adaptive platform has the CCT group. The first time the standard develops beside the specification also code. Adaptive platform delivers a demonstrator that accomplishes the specification and makes it easier to connect to different operating systems such as Linux or POSIX-based systems. And some of the groups like demonstrator integrationists are helping them as well. And from my perspective at the moment, the most crucial thing is the execution management and the OS connection, including the state management on adaptive. Yeah, so classic side, left side, established groups, I think they know what they're doing, and there are also some tickets from the past that are really following us a little bit, but we are looking also on resources pretty much where to direct our technical development. For example, vehicle to X is something for the future, because I think for level 3, 4 automation in automotive is vehicle to X quite important. I just double checked. Do you still hear me? Marcus, you with me?
Yeah, we hear you good. Some people would like you to use the laser pointer, if you can find that.
Yeah, that's great.
Otherwise, we haven't no raised hands so far. You're doing a good job.
Thanks. So let's continue. The upper part I was talking about is these groups. They are meeting on a weekly basis, of course, virtual at the moment. But I think a crucial part of standardization is the face-to-face, and everybody should, I think, experience one day how to sit together with 10, 12, a lot of companies, and then looking in one direction technologically. And this is sometimes we don't even feel in our own companies, but then finding common ground with other companies on technical direction, that's quite interesting. So I think the biggest action is currently ongoing in the security group. The adaptive platform has a lot of in discussion with regards to crypto API, cryptography, and yeah, here we see the merging of the automotive with other fields more and more, like topics like certificate or key handling, like authorization, are stepping into the car, and we must standardize them for our platforms. This is here. I would continue with the next slide, and you see that the classic platform somehow is an established way, but 3-4 years ago we asked ourselves what's the next step. And in 2016, I remember we had already an established study group where we looked on what's the next step for automotive EE systems, and we had contact to Google, to different POSIX vendors, to Linux distribution vendors, and we then asked ourselves, okay, how do we need to establish this kind of field? And then adaptive platform was the idea, but we wanted to merge it with our thoughts of safety and security. So adaptive is somehow a way to deal with highly integrated systems with more than one SoC, which means you have more target to deploy, bigger architecture with more computing power, and but you have still the safety and the security aspects. And we brought together, I think, the security mechanisms we definitely need for our cars in automated driving direction, and there must be a sense of flexibility here, because our architecture, which was signal based only, is not capable to handle this. And we saw from backend systems and backbone systems a lot of service-oriented architectures, which needs to come into the safety world. And this emerging we see more and more. This comes together with more computing power for processors, and then we need more speed, and in the sense of latency, but also with bandwidth direction, and therefore also new hardware architectures are in place. And at the end, I mean, you see that also the update mechanisms that and the vehicle to X topic is tackling the whole standard. So the whole package we had to tackle somehow, and we saw that classic platform is definitely not the right architecture to do so. I had some contacts, as I said, to infotainment systems on the right, and then said, okay, let's do something adaptive. And adaptive platform was established with an ASIL-B focus at the moment for safety certification, but still having the computing power. And I guess also we never will reach the latency we see for classic platform. I've been in projects where inverter machines were developed with classic platforms up to 10, 100 microseconds. Yeah, so where you have such response times on hardware level, you can't wait for Linux to start up. I mean, the classic, we have also some projects. You're sitting in the car and the system is rebooting, but you don't even mention as a driver. So such an ability is, I think, you will never have with a highly integrated system. So it's always a mix of both from our system perspective. I would like to focus on this slide more on the adaptive platform, and I will go with the pointer in the idea how to build up such an highly integrated system with adaptive platform, with one SoC with adaptive platform. We usually don't deal with the hardware. It can be done on ARM architectures or on Intel architectures. It's including GPUs, without GPUs. I've seen a lot of variation already there. And I think the POSIX level, we have the stable interface to POSIX PSE51 for the library part, and the C++ standard library, and which is developed in parallel by the ISO, is something we definitely will keep in place. So this is the foundation of adaptive. And usually you start then with execution management. The execution management is the only function cluster that starts and processes. And we then look on communication management. SumIP was for us for service-oriented architecture the way to go the first time, but also DDS bindings are now available to interact with other use cases for adaptive. And with the last release, we have also a mapping to current signal PDUs from classic platform, for example. So we have a possibility to map like a gateway functionality on board. If you have both in place, you can do already the major things. You can connect an application, you can start this application, develop this code, but also communicate to outside. But of course, adaptive is more. We then define a core type set, which is stable with C++ types, but also types that are needed for automated driving and automotive in general. And then I would focus at the second to the diagnostics corner, because having a fault mechanism within the communication part is quite crucial. There are usually two directions on defining a system: the way it should behave and it should not behave. And both directions must be handled. And it should not behave. You create data how to tackle that during your development. And all the other libraries you see here are nice to have, but the more you need them, the more you go to the safety direction. For example, for platform health management, that's a watchdog functionality, alike with health indication and supervision of specific functionalities, or also an end-to-end protection is provided with the SumIP and the signal PDU parts. So safety related, we have some things. Also time synchronization is something very crucial, because if you go for Ethernet, you don't know your time base. It's a data-driven approach, and the packages are just going through the Ethernet. Now, I will skip a little bit the technical part here, and I just want you to understand that all the parts of the adaptive platform has a specific understanding and meaning, and it's described in the specification. And the gray parts are coming with the most important application. It's the application for adaptive. It's the middleware, where it's provided also a state management, update mechanisms, and a network management. And this is also spawned by the execution management. that's somehow the you can also, this is an important sentence because we see that use case more and more non-platform related adaptive services can be deployed as well on adaptive, such as a microservice coming with JavaScript. If you have this language binding connected to adaptive, you can use JavaScript and then put an application on top. I don't think that we will have a lot of backend systems or backend services running on board directly in the next years, but I think I could imagine this will increase. Okay, usually there are questions on this slide, so if you have something, you can definitely interrupt me. All right. If not, I will continue with the part with the release. The next release is planned for 2011. We have major concepts planned for that, and you see that parts of them. This is the circle with a dark ring around it, and are coming already with 1911. We plan to have them with 1911, but we postponed them. So in the sense of quality and criticality. So we don't want to release everything. We want to release things that are in quality. That's quite important for us because the next step is going to serious. And just be honest, if you're releasing not good quality or in the standard, then I think the series will just struggle on this. Left part is going to classic platform, yellow, and purple is more in direction of adaptive. And as I said, AUTOSAR is handling the system itself. And there are some concepts that are tackling both platforms, such as system health management for it at the moment, or 10 Mbit Ethernet, which is in collaboration with IEEE. And this is just some I would like to highlight at the moment. Vehicle-to-X support for adaptive platform is also having the first ideas. But looking on classic first, we have, I think, one of the biggest concepts I've seen in classic, beside the variant management. I remember we brought in for AUTOSAR 4 and the flexibility concept. The flexibility concept splits your image, which you would like to migrate to any ECU or microcontroller, to different images, and then you have more than one binary to deploy. So the first time we create a possibility to split binary files based on configuration. This will be a huge impact on 2011 release and also I think on running classic platform projects. We are here prototyping still, but I guess this will have a big impact. On the adaptive side, you see more concepts coming in. I mentioned already the crypto API, but on the other side, I'm pretty proud on the sensor interfaces that are first time now combining the different sensor kinds we have in automated driving and providing logical interfaces. Yeah, this is somehow those I would like to highlight, but of course you can go as AUTOSAR partner on each concept and have a look how far they are developing. And we have 2-3 months to collaborate on that until end of August, and then set the publication by end of November. All right. The biggest pillars we have in AUTOSAR, especially now with adaptive, are, and I start with the one that's most challenging one. It's the connected part. To have a connection to offboard and is, of course, for IVI system quite usual, and update mechanisms. It's a precondition. But there is a huge variety of different platforms and compatibility we can establish. And with that, I think also the update mechanisms having their the big focus. You see a lot of press releases at the moment coming around from automotive vendors and suppliers and OEMs. We did an update of that many vehicles in the field, and we are pretty proud, and so on. For mobile devices, this is something completely normal. And this challenge, how to create this configuration and then update it coming from off-board systems with a cloud approach, is I think the second one, where we have our strength as AUTOSAR. We are based on security and safety. We're more coming with a more conservative API always. So things like exception-less APIs as something very important, or resource budgeting in this case. But we are still trying to combine it to the needs we have for service-oriented architectures. And this will, I think, remain in the organization with the next years. And I'm really looking forward to collaborate with each company on such topics, and to see the ideas that each company can bring in. All right, my last part of my presentation is going to adaptive, and especially also to automated driving. I shared the 2 links before the meeting started in the chat, and maybe you like to have a look afterwards. It's in the public domain. It's a proposal and a presentation by Simon Fürst. You might know him from the past, and it's how also BMW is tackling at the moment the automated driving use case with several level approaches, like level 3, 4, 5 with the timeline. But also the topic of security, safety is included there. Security not, but mostly safety. And we see there that a scalability of this huge system is really needed. Scalability and safety are a part of something what I would see as trust. And to gain trust in systems we don't understand, that's pretty difficult. I always compare it a little bit to a human being, and I ask myself how we trust each other in the sense of being safe, that someone is having a good mind with us. So we usually trust people that are reliable, which means that are there with us, which we have seen, which are next to us. And if those people are available for us, so availability is something very important, or gives us a safe and secure feeling, then I think we are starting to trust them. And usually we have then also a sense of intelligence in the discussion with this human being, and the more this people brings us with his experience or her experience and the ideas they have, the more the trust is increasing. So the communication is very important. As you see that the human being is, I think, one of the most complex systems, and we can use, I think, learning how to trust our cars if we understand how we trust other people as well. And this, I think, helps us to trust also the cars to transport the people we are loving and really caring about. And with that, if I would like to highlight what is the most important thing to start with is availability. Because someone who is not there, if a system is not working at all, you don't even start to trust it. So if something is shutting down during your runtime and then needs this for a startup 10 seconds, you'll say, no, that's not the right system I'm insisting on. So, and then looking a little bit on automated driving, how we decouple this idea. You know that data is really overwhelming the whole systems at the moment, and we distinguish here between offboard and onboard. And onboard is definitely where adaptive comes in place. Offboard, we see more and more other systems helping us with processing power and helping understand things like machine learning. But we will definitely need a perception, sensor fusion, computing power for trajectory planning, or for example, the scene understanding, which comes along with LiDAR and video systems. And here I think two important namespaces or ARA parts, adaptive platform parts, are important. The communication management, which has the possibility to bind this communication, but also the interpretation of ADI, automated driving interfaces, is the first step for us for standardization. And here I would propose to you to have a look on the 2011 release with regards to automated driving interfaces we will release in this year. It's a combination of the ISO activity as well. So we're here in connection. So it's coming along. It's not something contradicting with the ISO. It's very important for us that we base on ISO. And it's also connected to the OSI interfaces for simulation. So there is a kind of triangle of standardization here. And this slide shows a little bit of a possible architecture we are thinking on board. And you've seen in one of the links I proposed to have a look is the hardware architecture we are using for that internally in BMW. And that's a more scheme-related topic where you have the sensor interfaces on the left side, which can be scaled for ADAS up to fully automated driving. And they have two paths to calculate to hardware. And there is a fail degradation platform and a nominal integration platform, which is the normal way to calculate, but you have always a fallback. And it's always a combination of classic and adaptive. So on each, there are sometimes one classic and adaptive deployed and can calculate data in redundancy. And of course, you have the motion control connected, where ASIL B, ASIL D parts are tackled. And also the offboard connection is broad, and I think it will even increase with level 3, level 4 automation. So when you think of automation and the timeline, I think AUTOSAR is a good platform to think of. We have release-wise the 2011 in front of us, and there are already some serious projects running on adaptive. I think classic is established. There's even a fallback solution if adaptive is not running properly. And that helps us to establish this kind of systems at the moment in series, but also for the next series we will start for 2025. And there, I think level 3 and 4 automation must be already talked about at least. This is already my last slide, and I would like to thank you because I'm a little bit out of time because of the break. And I hope we will have the possibility to chat about some questions. Marcus, I'm good in time, so good message.
Excellent.
Try again. I will try again.
So we'll see if someone would like to activate their taskbar by moving the mouse and raising their hand if they have a question. I think you should take the chance when the expertise is in the web room.
Too much honor.
Just as we wait to people to gather some confidence, how you mentioned you have some strategic Denso and LG are joining, and how is the outlook for more membership? How are you recruiting new and what's your dream partner, and how does the outlook look?
Though of course we are very compliance-wise right here, and I won't mention any companies. We have strong partners in all areas of the world. I also appreciate to look on Japanese areas at the moment. We have, I think, around 100 associate partners and partners in general coming from the Japan region. It's impressive, because I think quality is something very important there. And Europe is quite in focus. And we, at the moment, have the strategic partner as a new partnership type for premium partners, because we see that we need a kind of commitment to dedicated topics for the next years. And then there is really a partner stepping in and saying, okay, I'm tackling this, that, and that. And this really helps from one corner to establish. So the strategic partners having now the third seat, I think, covered. It will be an application starting for 2021, to steer the project with us together.
Excellent. So Claes Andersson, you can unmute your microphone. You get the option to, or the chance to ask Rinat a question.
Yes, hello, Claes Andersson here. Thank you for the presentation, Rinat. I was just wondering, I saw on one of your slides you talked about this, the trust and the safety and security, and possibly even the integrity part of the autonomous stuff. And I also saw on some previous slide where you introduce in the platform cryptographic or crypto mechanisms. I'm not sure if you are the person, if you know this part about what AUTOSAR is thinking, but I'm kind of wondering the legal aspects of this, and specifically the fact that most countries have some rules and regulations about exporting products with cryptographics in. Do you know how that is tackled by AUTOSAR?
So your question is, just to understand it right, that there are already some products providing some cryptographic libraries within the operating system, for example, and how does it match together with adaptive, right? Or with
yeah, or rather, I mean, the fact that there are actually rules and regulations from most countries and also in the European Union that you're not allowed to export products with cryptos without special permits. Does AUTOSAR plan to have any specific permit for AUTOSAR products, or is it something that each, like BMW and others, need to do on their own?
I think there are two parts. So the cryptographic library itself comes with the standard, which means the platform-related topics, which of course are dependent on the government and the authorities' requirements. So we have then, at the moment, we have around 70 major requirements to security. And at least for BMW, I know that we almost half of it are covered with the adaptive and classic platform. And some parts are then going to the process-related stuff, where each supplier and OEM must provide the ecosystem to have this trustable platform, to provide the authorization, also the backend systems to update mechanisms and so on. This can't be done in the standard because it's too related to any specific serious development. So we distinguished here from the requirements level quite early what to do on the platform level and what to do in the ecosystem in the serious development.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, more questions. I'm looking forward to that, because I also mentioned we don't have this strong connection at the moment to the north. I'm pretty honest, we plan to have next month in Gothenburg an all-WG meeting, which was of course cancelled in place, but we try to do it next year again. But I always appreciate to go there to Gothenburg. I remember when the safety group in AUTOSAR met like on a monthly basis in Gothenburg, because it was so good connected to Frankfurt, and they just had all the safety meetings there. I remember, yeah. More questions. Looking forward.
Yeah, just last, considering the operating system on the adaptive platform, it was pretty strict back in the classic. Could you mention a little bit, maybe mention a few of the options coming up on the adaptive platform as well? How you're reasoning there?
Oh yeah, that's good. Because we struggle.
Before I let you, we have about 8 minutes to the next session. So if you really need to use the restroom or grab a coffee, stay muted and turn off your camera, and you can leave a bit, sneak out.
I found
for those who want to stay for this question, you're more than welcome.
Thank you, Marcus. Yeah, so on the operating system side, you see that slide on the lower part. We are struggling, to be honest, at the moment, because we see that this independency of operating system with POSIX is quite hard to establish. There's always an overlap. If you create a middleware on top, you have always discussions with your operating system vendor, like, is my library better than yours? And then you start to cut, and then it's an individual thing for each project. And of course, it's easier then to say it's a distribution, Linux distribution directed topic with one specific version and the long-term maintenance. But then you again have this fallback to safety and security. And because we don't have at the moment from the Linux side a safe approach how to create ASIL-related platforms. And this is the struggle we are in, and we are hoping that we get more and more experts to tackle this interface in future. I see Matt asking.
Okay. Mats, you may unmute your Mats Larsson. You may unmute your mic and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for a good talk, Rinat. I had a question about the difference between adaptive and classic. I mean, classic is very predictable and very safe in that sense. And I mean, you can predict timing and things like that very, not easily, but it's really calculable. But I mean, when you go into adaptive, the dynamics of the system makes that sort of predictions about, for example, timing and stuff like that much more difficult than resource management. I mean, what do you see there? Is there a need for more tooling, and is that something that AUTOSAR is addressing specifically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good thing. I have two thoughts during your questions, to be honest, and I would first go to the more philosophical question based on this slide. Of course, it's about safety and trustworthy if you can predict things. If you know a person who is with your thing for years, and you can predict even things, how they act, which time they answer, and so on. So it's easier for us to work together in feeling safe with platforms and also with people that we are knowing. And on the other side, we see topics like machine learning are coming in, and systems that are learning during development, even after. So it's much more than a human being. Let's just give you an example. If you are sitting in a ECU architecture and you have next to it your grandpa, this would be definitely a classic platform, because you can predict things, but maybe it's a little bit slower, or older, but you know how to act with him. But if you have next to you a child that has to learn everything during the runtime, and even you watch this person next to you and can steer how it would learn, you need to have both things. And we see that topics like SOTIF, for example, are helping us here, like the new standard from the ISO, because the ISO itself, 26262, is too predictable for automated driving. And we need some more freedom of learning. And on the other side, then topics like health management are coming in, because health management gives you a possibility to evaluate how much do we trust things that are at the moment active. So I think these two emerging things are coming together, and we definitely need more than one standard like the ISO to create systems of the future. SOTIF will help us here. This is my impression for the moment, and Linux as well, because we have features like in C++, which are not defined statically, have more possibility on the technical level to change things, like memory allocation, for example. So it's merging things of two worlds, I guess. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome.